All right, good evening, everyone. Let me call this regular meeting of the Township of Ocean Board of Adjustment to order. Clerk, can you take a roll call, please?
Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. All right, please rise to the salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the notice having been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Coaster, and filed with the Office of the Township Clerk. There is emergency exits through the courtroom doors and at the two exits at the rear of the room. No smoking is allowed in this room. No new cases will be started after 9 p.m. and no new testimony after 9:30 p.m. In addition, the applicant will be limited to 45 minutes of testimony. All meetings will be video and audio taped and shown on the Township of Ocean's community cable channel, which is channel 22 on Verizon Fios, channel 77 on Cablevision. Please turn your cell phones off. If you need to make a phone call, please make the call outside of the meeting room. The resolutions that are listed on the agenda will actually be taken up at the next meeting, so which is January 27th. Cases carried to February 20th, 2025, and these need to be renoticed. This is IAAT Services LLC, 1418 Highway 35 Oakhurst, and IAAT Services LLC, 922 Highway 35 in Ocean. There will be a special meeting on Monday, January 27th at 7:15, where we'll hear the First French Speaking Baptist Church, Block 38, Lots 71 and 72, which is 2795 to 2797 Asbury Avenue in Ocean in the R2 zone.
All right, and Mr. Chairman, I just want to emphasize that for the record, because this was carried to this meeting for the specific purpose of letting people know that it was not going to be heard tonight, that it was and announced a new date. So I just want the record to be clear. If anyone's here on First French Speaking Baptist Church, it is not being heard tonight. It will be heard on Monday, January 27th, 2025 at 7:15 p.m. You are in this room. You're not going to get any further notice. This is your notice. Thank you.
Mark, thanks for highlighting that further.
Yes.
Okay, we need to move the agenda around a little bit. We're going to start off with 197 Delaware LLC, which is 197 Delaware Avenue, Block 25.15, Lot 65 in Oakhurst.
Right, I'm really ready to go for the first case.
So, counsel, we need to go with this case first. Yeah.
Attorney for the applicant, Jennifer Krimko.
Good evening, Mr.
Good
Fulton,
evening.
members of the board. Jennifer Krimko on behalf of the applicant. It's a relatively simple and hopefully for Don's purposes, quick application here tonight. We have an undersized lot that sits up about 4 or 5 feet above the current roadway on Delaware, and we are looking to redevelop it with an essentially conforming house, but cutting a driveway in. There's no driveway that exists there today. Cutting a driveway in, other than for the lot dimensions and the change of grade to cut the driveway in, we need some minor relief on side yard just because of how narrow it is. But as you're gonna hear, the side yard is really just to basement access and to the window wells. So again, it meets all coverages, meets heights, meets all that other stuff. I can let the board professionals go if you prefer, or I can start moving things into evidence.
Yeah, let me mark the exhibits I have. Exhibit A1 would be the application itself. Exhibit A2 will be the boundary and topographic survey. Exhibit A3 will be the plot plan. Exhibit A4 will be the architectural plans. And then do you want to mark that in, the big board?
Yeah, I have a couple of other things to move in.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, with Right, as A5, it's just a photo of the property from the street and as you see, shows the property's raised on about a 4-foot wall, and there's some substantial grass area in between the pavement and the actual property where a car is actually parked on it in this photo.
So the two photos.
Yeah, it's 2 photos on one sheet. A6 is a color rendering of the plot plan on an aerial. And that's what's on the board, so I don't have to move that in separately.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. And then A7 is a plot plan exhibit which just shows the scope of the area that is a change of grade of 2 feet or more. And as you can see, it's consistent with the driveway and the walkway only. So with that, I'd like to introduce Pat Ward.
And let me just, I did have further exhibits.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Exhibit B1 as in board 1 would be the board planner's report of November 21st, 2024. B2 would be the board engineer report dated November 18th, 2024. B3 would be the zoning officer's denial letter of October 17th, 2024. And B4 will be the zoning officer report dated October 29th, 2024. That's everything.
Okay, thank you. If I could have Pat sworn in,
Yes.
qualifying him as an engineer and a planner.
Okay. Mr. Ward, do you swear any testimony you're going to give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And are you are what? Just state your name for the record.
Patrick Ward, WARD with Insight Engineering.
And you are a licensed planner and engineer in the state of New Jersey, correct?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you. That's all we need, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, may we begin, Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Thank you. Pat, I'm gonna turn it over to you. You're the expert here on engineering and planning. Let's walk the board through the existing deficiencies and the minimal relief we're seeking.
Okay.
I love when the engineers can't figure that out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our property, 197 Delaware, it's an 8,000 square foot lot. It's in the R4 zone. The R4 zone requires 10,000 square feet, so we're slightly undersized. What we're seeking to do is take down the existing dwelling and the front retaining wall, put up a new dwelling, new accessory improvements, new driveway, and some rear yard improvements. Today, there's a 1.5 story dwelling, center of the property, as Crimco stated. It's elevated up above the roadway. The grade around the house compared to the top of pavement is about 5 feet higher, hence why they have a retaining wall across the front of the property. It's unique today in that there is no driveway. So based on our survey, you'll see that there's no place for off-street parking. Today, presumably the tenants park right in front of the property on the shoulder in the right-of-way. There's a grass shoulder. So there's no off-street parking today. What we're proposing is what you see
And
here.
I'm sorry, just
Yeah,
today,
go
it's a 2-bedroom today, which under the ordinance would require 2 parking spaces.
Correct.
So we have a deficiency of 2 parking spaces existing today.
Correct.
Okay.
So what we're proposing is a 2.5 story dwelling. You'll see this on Exhibit A5. Access from Delaware Avenue by a new driveway. The driveway itself can support up to 4 vehicles. I'll get into that in a second, 2 of which are fully on the property. We are proposing a pool.
And Pat, just to point out, I had to actually draw in those vehicles to show that while they're not entirely on the property, they would be entirely within the driveway and outside of the roadway.
Correct. So to my point, 2 of those are fully on the property inside the right-of-way line, but you can see there's 2 more spaces that do fit off the pavement of Delaware Avenue.
And that's similar to the other houses, even the one right next door, where the driveway
Correct.
extends much further out.
Yeah, so from a practical standpoint, they could park off-street.
So you have 4 spaces.
We
like
do.
here.
In the rear, we're proposing an in-ground pool, a rear patio, and a pergola. Those proposed improvements comply with the ordinance requirements. And from a grading standpoint, we're generally trying to mimic the existing grades that are out there and maintain them. The main difference here is now the driveway. So Exhibit A7 has the red polygon on it. That represents the area that we're changing grade by more than 2 feet. You can see that the entirety of the driveway is in that, and some of the extra areas around it, just to get the retaining walls to shift, and even some of the basement access.
But we're not adding grade, we're cutting into the grade.
We're cutting in. Yep, we're scooping out that front part to get that driveway cut in.
Which is unusual for what people usually come here for.
Usually we go up. We're going down on this one. Yes. From a grading and drainage perspective, we revised our original plans since the board engineer review to include a drywall system that addresses his one comment. It mitigates the increase in total coverage for the 100-year storm, and our plans are updated accordingly. Generally, runoff's directed to the right-of-way, either by collection systems, like in the backyard, or just overland by sheet flow. So again, no impacts to the neighbors from drainage. Everything heads out to the street.
And the lots on either side of us are both undersized and developed with homes, so there's no opportunity to buy more land. Is that correct?
That's correct. They're both undersized. They're not. Neither are 10,000 square feet. You can see the lot to the north is actually smaller than us. Lot to the south is just about the same size. We are proposing new street trees as required, as well as new replacement trees in the rear yard, which have a dual purpose of providing some functionality as screening, privacy screening. So parking, just to kind of summarize, today there are 0 parking spaces off street. There's no driveway for a 2-bedroom home. 2 spaces are required. As proposed with the 7-bedroom home, we would be required to have 4 spaces off street. What we do provide is 4 spaces off of Delaware Avenue, technically 2 of which are on the property fully. The other 2 straddle that property line. So today we're deficient by 2. In the future, we're deficient by 2. So we
Technically, we're deficient by 2,
Technically.
but realistically, we're providing all 4.
Yeah, so in my opinion, while we're practically the same deficiency, we're improving it by actually providing space for vehicles from a practical standpoint. In terms of nonconformities and variances, we have 2 existing nonconformities. One is the lot area at 8,000 square feet where 10,000 is required. There's no change, no reasonable way to cure that, considering the neighbors. And then lot width is 80 feet where 90 feet is required. And again, no change there, same argument. So we have 2 variances proposed, and both can be analyzed as C1 hardship variances. First, the combined side yard setback. We're proposing 21.5 feet where 25 feet is required.
And I just point out that 21.5 is to the window well.
Yes.
We have the benefit of having the zoning officer here. The zoning officer doesn't measure side setback to the principal building to the window well. She considers it an accessory structure, and therefore didn't call that out as a variance in her letter. It has been the board's practice, though, since it's attached to the house, to consider it part of the structure. So we called it out as a variance, but the zoning officer did not. But again, this nonconformity is as measured to the window well, which is at grade, not at the house where you could actually see it. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so correct. On the north side, there's a window well. On the south,
Here.
on the south side, there's a basement access way. Both of those are at grade or below grade. Those are, when you add those up to the side yard setbacks, that's what gets us below the 25. The house itself is combined side yard of 29
So
feet.
the vertical portion of the house fully complies, and the side yard setback, the intent of that is to keep the space in between the vertical buildings.
Correct. Correct. Yep. Limit the mass from the roadway.
And then
Since-
the only other variance is the change of grade that we talked about.
And the change of grade is solely for the requirement of providing off-street parking. And in order to do so, we do have to change that grade. The worst place is right at the right-of-way, where the beginning of the driveway is. That's where the wall is 4 feet. We have to cut right into it. So that at the base of the driveway, it's 4 feet. As you get to the end, it gets closer to 2
I
feet.
think you established we have the hardship in that we can't change the lot size.
Correct.
We have the hardship in that we're narrower than what is otherwise permitted, so we're limited on what we can do.
Correct.
We have the hardship based on the grade. The only way to get the driveway in is to get that change of grade. 2 questions.
Correct.
Is the driveway a better alternative than not getting that change of grade variance?
Yes. Yes. Providing.
So from a
Yes.
planning perspective, this is a better zoning alternative.
Absolutely.
And in your opinion, is there any negative detrimental impacts at all that you could see if the board were to grant this application?
No, from the relief sought, the combined side yard setback is at grade features. The cutting of the driveway in is a benefit, has no impact. And then the drainage usually is tied to the change of grade. We're mitigating any increase in runoff.
And any other technical comments that may be in Ben's letter, we can agree that if the board would approve it, it could be a condition of approval.
Yeah, no issues with Ben's letter. We can agree to approve.
Any questions,
apply.
Sir Patrick?
How wide is the driveway?
20 feet.
20 feet. How long is a parking spot in on-street parking normally?
Typically, it's 18 feet in depth. Or length, I'm sorry?
Yeah, a little length. So like, you're
9
taking
by,
away?
9 by 18 is typically what it would be. One street parking space would be 20 because it's parallel, so it's going to be longer than the 9 by 18. So
They're losing one on-street parking,
But gaining
gaining
4.
all the ones up.
Yeah, well, they don't even have an on-street parking space. They park
off the street on the gravel and grass
Oh, I got you,
area.
yeah.
So I think this is a better solution
Yep.
than widening the pavement and having parallel parking spaces on the street.
Any questions?
Would you have had the same grading issues if the driveway moved to the other side of the property?
Yes.
Meaning
Understood.
the north side of where it was put in?
That front wall is about over 3.5 to 4 feet tall.
Mr.
So
Carmonica, that's why I included that picture, just because it's, for whatever reason, I popped it all the way up in the air.
Yeah, the wall runs the full width of the lot.
And you're basically proposing the same thing that's going on lot six, is it 66?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're basically proposing the same thing as far as the driveway is concerned.
Yep.
right.
Any other questions? Jim, do you have any comments you want to give
No,
us?
I don't. I have no problem with the variances. The existing ones, nothing to do about. And the proposed ones, the combined side yard setback is de minimis. And even with go out there with a tape measure, you probably couldn't tell the difference. And they're changing grade. It's there right now anyway. They're just figuring it out.
I'm sorry, I should have asked any members of the public have questions of this witness. All right, now I'll go to you, Bennett. Any comments?
Yes. There was a revised plan submitted that shows a dry well to address my comment number one. I did just receive that, so I didn't have a chance to review it. But I just looking at it quickly, the comment is to provide a dry well or some type of stormwater mitigation measures. So in concept, I agree with the solution, and I just have to do a full review. So any approval, I would just say, is subject to that review.
Okay.
The other thing is it's in my letter. It wasn't touched upon. Delaware Avenue was repaved in 2022, and in the township, there's an ordinance that any road that's repaved has a 5-year moratorium for road openings, and there are new utilities being proposed coming from the mains in the road. So that will require approval from the township council to open the road.
Right, and I purposely didn't raise it. We took note of it, but this board doesn't have jurisdiction to grant us that approval. So only if we get approval here would we make the application when we're ready to start construction with the council.
And I'm fine with that.
Okay. Any other witnesses? No. Any members of the public like to make any comments? All right, there's a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Anyone like to make a motion on resolution?
I'll motion for positive resolution.
I second.
With the full review that,
With the review of
Malik
the
said.
dry wells, yes.
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 Thank you.
Have a good night.
Feel better.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Terry Santerre, Block 120, Lot 6, 1410 Woodlock Avenue in Ocean. Mr. Santerre? Can I ask you to raise your right hand? Mark, do you want to swear him in, or should I swear him in?
I normally do, but I know the chairman likes to do
You
it.
go ahead.
But I do too. You swearing testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. And just state your name for the record?
Terry Santerre.
Thank you. And you are the applicant in this matter?
I'm sorry.
You are the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, I do have the following exhibits to mark into evidence. Exhibit A1 will be the application, Exhibit A2 is the survey, Exhibit A3 are the architectural plans. We then have the following board exhibits, and unless someone tells me otherwise, I'm only going to mark them the final version. Is that fine? Yeah, all right, so B1's gonna be the board engineer's final report. B2 will be the board planner's revised report, and B3 will be the zoning officer's denial letter. B4 will be the zoning officer's final report. So those are all we have.
All right, Mr. Santerre, who do you have with you?
This is Don Passman, our architect.
Hi, Mr. Passman, do you want me to swear you in?
Sure.
Do you swear your testimony you're gonna give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, so nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And just spell your name for the record,
Donald Passman, P as in Peter, A-S-S-M-A-N.
and you're a licensed architect, state of New Jersey.
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much.
and I have testified before this board.
Yeah.
Sure have.
You're good. Go ahead.
So thanks for meeting with me tonight. My name is Terry Santerre. I live at 1410 Woodlock Avenue, and we are here because I'm asking for a variance on a couple of things. I purchased this house in 2016, and we primarily come down on most weekends. It's like a summer house for us, although we're thinking about retiring here eventually. We've done some internal minor renovations, painting, tiling, things like that. And the front porch is in disrepair. It was basically built like 10 years ago or something. It has plastic railings and things like that. So we've engaged with Don to come up with a plan to put on a new front porch that would be more architecturally appealing to the house that we have. In addition to that, we are asking to convert the garage to basically like a sunroom recreational space, not a living space, but to be converted for plants and things like that. What else can I tell you?
I can go through some of the architectural pieces of it.
Don, will you talk about what variances are going for and
Yeah,
what you need?
I can.
You'll cover that? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, so there were 3 reports, reading through the reports, and I have a zoning chart on the drawing which states what things are pre-existing nonconformities and what we are proposing, what variances were required by the proposal. And by adding on to this front porch, and I'll go to my drawing. Here we are. Hello?
And this is just Exhibit A3 that you have up there, right?
Right. Let me add a couple of the exhibits just for fun.
Okay.
Because we're here. 4 and 5, 2 photographs, one of the front of the house and one of the front of the garage, or what was the garage, is the garage,
All right, so A4 is the front of the house.
with the existing porch shown.
House with porch. And A5 is what?
It's the front of the garage, which is back in the back part of the property.
All right, and both are as exist today.
Yes. So just briefly, that the front porch only goes in front of the door, as you can see from the photographs. And what my client wants to do is to extend it across the front of the house. In doing so, it's a front yard variance because the front porch is too close to the property line. The steps, which are part of the front yard setback, or in the front yard setback, are going to be slightly increased because the treads are going to be a little bit wider. We're putting a roof on this, so it's roofed. So it's a front yard setback for that. And that, we're just adding on about 11 feet going toward the south on that thing, and it's going to be as wide as the existing porch is today. Of course, it's going to have a new roof line. It'll be more aesthetic than what was there. And that's just adding, not only is it adding to the front yard setback problem, but it also adds coverage. Now, it's a very small lot, it's a very small house, but it's still above 25% when we do this thing by 19 square feet. So that's one of the other variances. Front yard setback at steps, front yard setbacks at the new porch, and the coverage of 25.4%. The next thing is that for the garage, we're converting it to this recreational kind of space by just taking out the garage door simply, putting in some French doors and glass, a couple of skylights to get some light in there. Presently, and it's only a 12 by 20 type of space, so it'd be really hard pressed to get any real car in there. But I think it'll be better used for what right now there's stuff in there, right? It's got tools and things like that. Now it'll be, if it's finished off and look nice, you can use it for, other spaces, but it's not gonna be a sleeping space at all. It's just a raw space. The variances of what it is now, it's not gonna change, same roof line. We're gonna do a little work to get the skylights in and do a little something with the interior structure, but it's 11 feet high, it's only supposed to be 10 feet high, but we're not changing that. So just in light of that, these are the number of variances that we're asking for.
Would you agree to a deed restriction with respect to the sunroom not being a bedroom?
I would say yes, on your behalf, right?
All right, and I bring that up because that affects how much you park, and even though you
Yeah.
may not have intentions to convert it to a bedroom, someone you sell this house later on may do so.
Got it.
So
Are you gonna heat that space?
I
Like
think
electric
we
heaters or
probably-
something like that?
yes, yeah.
Just to keep it from freezing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
How are you gonna heat it? You're gonna
I
run
think
utilities to it?
Yes.
Natural gas?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, you can do it electrically,
Yes,
but
sorry.
yeah, you can run a gas heater in there.
And the utilities would come from the existing house, not new utility cuts in the road.
I would think so, yes. But other than that, that's really the name of the game. I mean, the house is very small in terms of its footprint. There's 2 bedrooms. There's 857 square feet on the first floor and 539 on the second floor. And the garage represents 241 square feet.
and you have enough room for 2 cars on the site?
They would need to expand the driveway. That's the only recommendation I would have, is that to extend the driveway so that it's 38 feet from the sidewalk to the end of the driveway, so that you could fit 2 cars up beyond the sidewalk tandem. And that's the emergency services are very concerned, particularly this area of the township, of the fact that there's too many cars parked on the street.
Right.
That affects emergency vehicles.
Alright, so expand driveway how much?
So it's 38 feet from the sidewalk to the end of the driveway. Right now, it's about 18 feet, I would say, so we'd have to double the length of the driveway.
So you want it to go 38 feet
Yeah.
to the end of the to
Yeah,
the
from
sidewalk?
not from the property line, similar to the last application.
Okay.
Where there wasn't a sidewalk, so if the cars got out to the pavement, it was fine, but here there is a sidewalk, so you don't wanna block the sidewalk.
Alright,
So
so
can the dimension be from the sidewalk back?
That's what I'm saying.
You are, okay, 38 feet, and presently it is about almost 20. It's 19 right now.
Yeah,
So we're saying double it.
yeah, just about, basically double it.
Alright, so a condition is going to be that you have to expand the driveway 38 feet to the end of the sidewalk.
Okay.
Alright, and you understand why?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terry, that'll take you to about that line there.
That doesn't
Okay.
take a variance for this,
No,
And it only has to be 9 feet wide, but it'll probably match the width of this.
Okay, so we're just
It's about 10 feet right now.
yeah, that's
So we'll
fine.
extend it
Yeah,
10 by
yeah.
16
Whatever
feet.
the
or
width
so.
is, existing width is, extend it
Okay,
till it's 38 feet.
okay. And I don't really think we have anything else really to offer, but I'll answer any questions. I'm sure Terry will too.
Anyone have any questions? And the garage now you use for storage,
Yeah.
basically?
There's like a kayak in there and some garden stuff.
So all the stuff you keep in there, where do you have somewhere to put it?
Yeah, we have a whole
Yeah,
basement.
cool. With this size lot, I assume if they were to come back, go and build a shed, there would be hard up finding a spot to put a shed, right?
What's the lot coverage, the building coverage?
Building coverage is going to be 25.4%.
Okay, so, but then they can't put a shed if they come back.
We'd have to come
They're
back.
Back for variance.
Do you have access to the garage from the house?
It's kind of, you just step down a step and it's
It's-
literally
it's
from
not-
here
it's
to
a-
there.
It is
So-
detached. It's only attached by pavers.
But you're going to attach it, right?
No.
Oh, it's
No,
going
no,
to be
there's no roof
detached.
attachment to it, no.
Yes, gonna
It's
be
staying the way it
accessory
is.
structure.
Okay.
Jim, do you have anything you'd like to?
Other than that, making sure there's adequate parking, that's the only question. They've taken care of that.
Bennett?
No, I don't have anything else. It's pretty straightforward.
Do any members of the public have any questions for this witness? Do any members of the public have any comments they'd like to make on this application? I'm assuming you didn't have anything else. We're ready to close
So
the thing.
on my end, what I'm going to do when we get to the construction documents, I will show the expanded driveway and that'll suffice for
That's
everything, right?
good. Well, you have to do, resolution compliance.
Yeah.
So we'll do that for the resolution compliance,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
got it. Okay,
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close.
And that can be by voice vote, you don't need to call a roll to close the public hearing.
All right, I love it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Do we have a motion on the resolution for this case?
I'll make a positive
A second.
And the deed restriction.
and the deed restriction.
All right,
Just a
thank
second.
But
Oh,
wait,
we gotta vote. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Oh, it's
You
gonna
might
happen.
change minds right now. Do we have a second?
We gotta take a break, we'll be right back.
I'll second
Somebody
John.
second the motion,
I'll
please.
second
Thank
the
you.
motion.
You can go, but that would be the problem.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Next case is Idan Koresh, 150 Ampere Avenue, Oakhurst. Attorney for the applicant, David Esses. Mr. Esses,
David
hello.
Estes on behalf of the applicant.
Claire, do you have another?
I don't have any, I don't have that.
Which one?
One, this, 150 and two. Do you have another one?
Mine was in the bottom.
Oh,
And I'm gonna mark in the following.
Oh, it is.
got it?
Excuse.
I'm gonna mark in the following exhibits. A1 is gonna be the application itself, A2 is the survey, A3 is the full variance and grading and soil erosion and sediment control plan. That's all I have from the applicant. I then have, for the board, B1 will be the board planner's report, B2 will be the board engineer's final report dated December 13th, 2024, and B3 will be the zoning officer's final report.
Here I have Idan Horesh with us tonight. Idan Horesh is a member of the owner of the property, and he's also the builder. He's a member of the builder.
Very good.
Put this one up, so,
Yes. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. And just state your name for the record.
Idan Horesh.
Thank you.
Would you like to start with your reports, or they just admit it in?
You can start.
Normally, when there's an attorney involved, the applicant presents the application and then we comment.
I'll start with, I think what should be a simple and quick application. But I want to just go back and explain to the members of the board why are we here, how we got here. This is a new construction house on Ampere Avenue. It's a undersized lot. Ampere Avenue goes straight through from Ampere to Idlewood Avenue. So the house goes all the way through. It's essentially got two front yards. There was a plan to construct a new home, which was approved. Did not require any relief. It was a house with a pool, and it was fully compliant. When construction started, they were digging the foundation, and lo and behold, they run into a pipe. Turns out there's a pipe that runs approximately 10 feet off of the right property line. Turns out that drainage pipe runs directly through the property, and you can see that on the plan. And that's from the front to the back of the property. And turns out there was an easement that prohibits the builder or the owner from building anything 10 feet on either side of it. So now the property just shrunk by 20 feet. When we thought there was only a 10-foot setback, the builder, the property owner, lost another 10 feet of the property, which is exactly where the house was going to be built. It took several months to figure out, with the town, what was going to happen, what we can do about it. In the meantime, there was some walls of the prior house that were left. Those walls fell down, and so now the house became essentially a new construction, which would require certain relief. consequently, in the meantime, also, the applicant redid the house and made it smaller, so he wouldn't, build on top of the
Easement.
the easement area. So now we've got a smaller house, and now we ran into a situation where the house is already being built. We had approvals, for the new house. It was being built, and, after getting the, Mr. Higgins' report, he recommended that because the house had actually come down during prior to construction, that certain, variances were required. And based upon the application, we requested a variance for the minimum lot area, width, and depth. These, I think, are technical in nature. Again, Mr. Higgins noted really couldn't be avoided. But again, the house is actually already at this point built and finished and completed inside and out. The exterior is not completed yet. In addition to that, we're seeking relief for the construction of a pool. The pool, as you see on the plan, because we have 2 front yard setbacks, we require relief for the minimum to the pool surround of 13 feet 6 inches, and to the pool water itself, of 16 feet 8 inches. I'd also like to say that I received a call from the neighbor on the opposite side of the street of Idlewood Avenue last night. Mrs. Lori Conley. I'm not sure if she's here this evening, but I would promise her that we would discuss it. Ms. Conley was concerned about the pool being emptied when it has to be lowered, that we would potentially empty the pool back towards Idlewood Avenue, and we would agree as a condition to never allow any drainage from the pool to go to the back of the house on Idlewood Avenue, that we would always, pipe it out to the front of the house in the winter when the pool's being closed, that any water, when you lower the pool, that it would always only drain out to the front. We also agreed that we would fully screen the fence all the way around and not have any gate on the back of the property to Idlewood Avenue, so that you don't have cars parking along Idlewood Avenue. Idlewood Avenue is a narrow street, doesn't really have enough room for parking and then cars to pass.
So you're gonna screen the rear of the property, is that what you're saying?
We were gonna screen the rear of the rear of the property, which is all around the pool fence.
Which I recommended in my report also.
Yes, we fully agree with that.
All right, and that screening is gonna be subject to the approval of Ben and our planner over here. Okay.
So we had agreed that there would not be any gate exiting out through the back onto Idlewood Avenue, so as to discourage people from parking along Idlewood Avenue and accessing the house that way if they were guests and so forth. So certainly we would agree to those as conditions of what is hopefully the approval.
All right, I mean, so you've got 3 things here. Would you agree to a deed restriction, making that clear, those 3 things?
Yes.
Okay, because I think that's gonna be important for any future purchaser of the property, to know that they can't put in a gate and so on and so on. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So at this point, I'd just like to see if there are any questions from the board.
So regarding the drainage, that's for when you bring the pool down to winterize it, and then also include any pool cover pump, right, for
Yes.
seasonal, right? So
Yes.
throughout the winter as well.
Throughout the
Right.
winter and, I guess during the summer when you
Backwashing,
have to
yeah.
lower the pool. This is
Well,
not permanent drainage.
there's a lot of times when you drain a pool, and that's a long way to drain a pool to the front of the house. Just so you're right, eyes wide open.
Especially where the
right?
pool equipment is. It's in the rear or front. I have a pool, so to try and get that backwash all the way around could be a bit difficult. Could the pool equipment be moved a little bit closer to Ampere Ave without causing any issues? In terms of variances or anything? I don't want to increase your variances, but...
Well, we did discuss, we do acknowledge, obviously, that it is a longer run,
Yeah.
obviously, to go right to the back
Yeah.
versus going forward. But it's something that certainly we conceded to in order to, you know, be neighborly and.
Yeah, no, I don't want to. I don't
Jim,
want
is
you
there a
to.
place they can move that without having to give them any more variance issues? The pool equipment to get it closer to Ampere Ave, or?
If I could just address that, we did mention also that if possible, we would move the pool equipment towards the side of the house, but we're not sure at this point if it's gonna run into any other
Yeah, I don't
issues,
want
variance issues, so,
Queue and variances,
you know,
yeah.
if we can, I think it would help, but we weren't sure if we could at this point, so we would agree to pipe it out towards Ampere, and if it works that we're able to move the equipment, then it's a possibility.
Okay.
I don't think at this point we could commit to that, because there's too much that goes into it at this point in terms of the pool construction and also if there's and planning.
Maybe an agreement to relocate the pool equipment closer to Ampere, subject to the approval, not put Ben on the spot, Ben's approval. As long as, you know, they can demonstrate to Ben that it's not possible to put it any other place. Cause they'd be looking at probably a 75-foot hose to get the water out to Ampere, which can be done, but it's a
Yeah.
little bit,
I've got my pool in my house, it's probably about
I've got it.
70, 100 feet, so
Yeah.
it's not unheard of, but. That's underground? That pipe, is it's a drainage easement area. It's a drain and there's an easement area over it. It runs from the sewer on Ampere Avenue all the way out and lets out on Idlewood, on both sides of the street on Idlewood.
It's a township drainage pipe.
It lets out there.
There are two inlets. There's an inlet on Idlewood and one on Ampere, and it's a drainage pipe that connects the two. I don't know which direction it
Yeah,
flows.
so where's it go?
Right here almost looks like it's level.
Yeah.
Actually, it flows from. Yeah, it's almost level. It flows from Idlewood to Ampere, and from there it goes one direction or the other, north or south. I don't know.
Ben, if I'm reading engineering plans, they're tying in storm leaders, downspouts into that same drainage system?
Yes.
Is there any reason they can't provide a way to directly drain the pool into that same system?
It can. The DEP does allow pool drainage to be directly into your stormwater system. So there are that kind of goes in the opposite of what the agreement with the neighbor was, because the pipes that they have collecting downspouts go towards Idlewood, but that is a possibility. I mean, realistically, you could just discharge the pool drainage into one of those cleanouts.
Well, concern of Ms. Conley was that if we were to let out water onto a narrow street, that it would fill up the street, and because it's narrow, it would flood our front yard.
So if you're able to get it into the actual underground system, it's a much shorter run.
Yeah. If it's possible, I don't know from
Jim,
an engineering.
does the town require access to that pipe? Right, so there's no restrictions, sorry,
That's okay.
Mr. Matlack.
That's all right.
Are there any restrictions about putting fences up around the property with the pipe?
So the township owns or has rights to the drainage easement.
Right.
And with that, they are allowed to, at any time, access that area so they can maintain their stormwater infrastructure.
Right.
So that means that any, private improvements that this resident has on top of the pipe or on top of the easement could be removed by the township without his notification. So That is in my report. There is the fence that's proposed on top of the easement, and also the driveway is proposed there as well.
Okay, so if something were to happen, if that pipe were to burst or they needed access, they would just take the fence down, like the town would just take the fence off and
Yeah.
to gain access?
And they would, right, correct, and they would not have to replace it.
Okay.
It would be the responsibility of the homeowner to
Okay.
replace it.
I just
And you
wanted to
wanna-
make
you wanna-
sure that he could
The
erect
applicant
the
understands
fence.
that, right?
Yeah, that's a.
I mean, the
that's a
applicant's not
situation-
gonna live there, obviously, I'm assuming.
Well, I think it's an open question at this point, but.
Okay, okay, fine.
Yes, yes, but.
I understand, but he's a builder is what you.
Well, you can ask him the question.
I mean, it's irrelevant really because it's someone else's. He's not going to live for the rest of his life or in perpetuity. So someone will eventually else live there. So I am going to put in here that that you're acknowledging the fence is being built across an easement, and that the town reserves the right to access that easement at any time.
And the driveway.
And the driveway. Thank you.
Right, that's understood, yeah. That's-
David, can I
that's
just
the reason why
ask
we're
your
here.
client, when you purchased the property, the person you bought it from just neglected to tell you that there was an easement there for the pipe?
When I purchased the property, nobody knew about the easement. I even didn't know anything, not the attorney, not the survey guy, even on the survey. Nobody knew anything about it until.
I'll tell you, it was, so we researched afterwards, it was a little strange the way that that there was an easement there, and it was a little bit.
Filed with the town, like how?
Probably filed with the county.
It's filed, it's very strange, the way the easement reads, it's very misleading.
Okay,
Most easements, and I do a lot of real estate transactions, and most easements,
yeah, that's what I'm
and it's
questioning.
very common that there's drainage within the setback. So within the first 10 feet of the side yard, standard, and so, someone who's buying a house, they can't build there anyway, so if there's drainage running through there, it's really immaterial. And the way the easement read, it appears, and it took us a lot of work with all the experts to really figure out, wait a second, the easement was misleading, or it appeared that it was within the first 10 feet of the property, but it wasn't. It was shifted over, and then you have this easement area on both sides of the pipe so that the township could access it.
Is the easement recorded with the county?
Yeah, there's an easement on the property, yeah.
All right, do you know what and if you don't have it, do you know what
Recording
the book of
information?
pages?
I don't have it, but.
Could you get it to me? 'Cause
Okay.
I'll put it right into the resolution. So
Yeah,
that,
it's a recorded instrument, it's
Right.
there.
Right.
It's on the revised plan.
Oh, is it on the revised plan?
Deed book 4260, page 71.
4260,
Thank you.
Page 71.
page 71. All right, thank you.
It's just not, when you first look at it, it's not really clear
I understand.
where it lies.
No, I'm putting in there. And,
That's
and
what.
the reason I want it there is because I want to reference within the resolution, and we'll put it in the deed restriction, just so that the parties know any future purchaser will be aware of this easement and doesn't have the same problem in the future.
Thank you, that's exactly where I'm trying to
Yeah.
go with this.
Right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't know if we got to this. What kind of fence will be in the back on Idlewood?
I think according to the ordinance, it needs to be a 50% solid fence.
No, in the back, I'm not allowed to put a solid. I have to put a 4 feet. Not solid. Only on the sides I can put solid because it's considered as a front.
Right, so according to the ordinance, it's max 4 feet and 50% solid, so I'm not sure if it's gonna be, is it vinyl fence or?
Vinyl.
Four foot is a pool. Is 4 foot's the minimum for a pool?
What?
Is 4 foot fence the minimum for a pool, or 5?
I think the standard is 4 feet.
Yeah, for a pool fence, I think it's 4 feet is the minimum. That'll be reviewed by the construction department. That's part of the pool permit.
Yeah, and if the board is the applicant has offered and the board is gonna require a buffer along Idlewood, that's another variance, cause a hedge can't be higher than 4 feet in the front yard. So if it's gonna be a 6-foot hedge, which I think the neighbors would probably like to see, and I'm sure the applicant, whoever lives in this house, is gonna wanna have the privacy, so that would be another variance that would have to be granted.
You can grant that if the
Yeah.
board sees so fit.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. You were talking about a 4-foot fence for
It's a
for.
open fence, right?
I think I'd rather put a 6-foot solid fence if I'm allowed to.
So the fence will be built in accordance with the ordinance.
Unless the board chooses to
Yeah.
grant you the variance here.
Unless
But
they-
the board's gotta tell me what the preference.
So how far off is this fence going to be off the?
it's on the property.
It's on the property line. What's next door?
Yeah, there's just,
Next door?
Yeah, to the. Well, I have a feeling we'll find out in a minute. No, what does that line look like on Islewood Avenue as the properties go through? Are there fences? Are there hedges
It's on the,
on Idlewood Avenue?
yeah,
Right, where you're talking about right now, building a fence to 4 feet. What is? I'm so sorry. Is this north or south, east, west? But the neighboring properties. What's there?
facing the property from Ampere Avenue,
No.
From Idlewood Avenue.
from Idlewood Avenue.
Yeah, facing the property. So who's looking at the pool, pretty much?
Who's looking at the pool is Miss Conley. She's across the street
Across the street, yeah.
on Idlewood.
Right. So from her point of view, to the left, what's there?
There's a new construction, it's, I think it's a house or a synagogue on it. It's a big
You
construction.
got. You can't talk yet. We'll call you up.
It's a large construction project, I just
Okay.
drove by
So
there,
it's
but that'll
it's
be over.
under construction now. So there's nothing on the property line right now.
I don't believe it.
Right. All right, and then the other side.
The other side, it's another house.
Does the other house face Ampere Avenue or does it face Idlewood?
No, it's both face Ampere and Idlewood.
And it goes through.
They both face Ampere.
Yeah.
I think all the houses.
The houses.
Yeah,
All
like
the
the-
houses face Ampere.
Okay.
Two
All right.
backyards go through to.
Okay. And is there a fence there?
Yeah, there is a fence there. I think like 3 or 4 feet, like a chain fence.
Not getting any better.
Yeah, that's where they are. I think that's where the other picture.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to think is if you're looking down the street, down Idlewood Avenue, if we have a 6-foot fence on your property, is that going to look weird? Or is there already hedges and all those things there? Right, trying to keep some character,
Right.
but also give privacy. So it's a trade-off. But it'll be great to know what's there right now.
Looking at what's there now, just looking at it on Google Earth, there are not a lot of fences. There is the fence of the neighbor that's a 4-foot chain link fence, which complies with the ordinance because it's more than 50% open. And a 6-foot solid fence may be a little imposing right on the property line. And there are no other fences, right along the property on that side of the road. But like they said, they are all rear yards. It looks like they're backing up to Idlewood there.
yeah, I think one of two solutions would be best. One would be to have a 5-foot open fence, like a Jared fence is one or a state type fence on the property line with landscaping, solid landscaping inside of it, which would be one thing that would be attractive. The other would be to move the fence off the property line and have a solid fence 5 feet high and have the landscaping outside the fence along the property line. And the only issue there is maintaining that landscaping outside the fence. It's better to have it inside the fence and maintain it. But I think, solid fence on the property line that's visible, I think is gonna be out of character with
Yeah.
the area and very disturbing to look at.
Thank you. What do you think?
I agree with Jim.
Okay. So the fence with the landscaping on the inside?
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's gonna stay 4 feet then,
No, 5
5
feet.
feet.
5 feet.
and you don't need a variance for that.
No, you do need a variance for
You
it.
do need a variance.
Yeah, because it can only be 4
And
feet.
can you write in the kind of fence that,
It's an open fence, right?
what
Estate-
did you say it was?
Estate type fence, I think, is a good description of it.
Of what type fence?
Estate type,
STA.
STATE, yeah.
I don't even know what that means, but okay.
And you
Fine,
wanna give
fine.
relief for like a 6-foot hedge behind it?
Yeah,
Give a little
yeah,
bit more?
Hedge behind it, however high you feel is appropriate, and maybe the neighbors can, say something about that, what they would like to see.
And the landscape will be on the house side of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, landscaping on the
The
inside.
inside.
Inside of the fence,
Inside,
yeah, inside
inside,
fence.
inside.
Mr. Chairman, one of the things from my report is similar to the one of the previous applications. There's a moratorium on Ampere Avenue, which was paved in 2022, and the relocation of the driveway is going to require a new curb cut, which would impact the recently paved road. So similarly, they would have to go to the council for an approval for that.
Okay.
And there's a shed on the property now, is that the?
It's being removed.
That's,
It's going, has it been removed?
yes.
It's already gone?
Yes,
Okay, good.
I think that shed was actually right over the easement area.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Does anyone have any more questions? Any members of the public have any questions? Yes, come on up if you don't mind. Just come to the microphone. So we're going to ask you to say your
I'm
name.
gonna swear you in first. Alright, you swear your testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And just state your name for the record.
Travis Fasher.
Could you spell your last name, please?
FASCIA.
And what's your address?
147 Ampere Ave.
And where are you in relation to this property?
Directly across the street.
You're across the street, okay.
So that drain is in front
You
of
have
my.
to use the microphone, sir.
The drain is in front of my front yard.
Okay.
So that's
Mr.
the other side of that drain.
Mr. Fasher, so right now we ask questions of what's been talked about so
Sure.
far,
Yeah,
and
so
then
I'm
after
just
that,
wondering-
so then
yeah.
after that you can testify and
Sure.
offer new things.
Sure.
Okay.
So the question is, if you're gonna not drain it into Idlewood, I don't know if you're familiar with Ampere Avenue. We're at the bottom of the hill. It's a steep hill too. So right where our properties are, right at the bottom, in the wintertime and things, I deal with water. Like that drain backs up, I'm responsible to clear it. He's gonna be dumping a pool into Ampere Avenue now. That concerns me a little bit. So I would like to know how that's gonna impact us, basically, with that.
Okay, so.
I can sort of answer that, or help out the applicant on this. Typically, when you drain a pool, you're not doing it during a rainstorm. So it's dry conditions. So you're discharging water into the storm system when there's no other flow going on. So it's really not impacting like the capacity of the storm system.
Is the hose gonna go across the street directly into the drain?
Well, no, the
You can't do that.
testimony was either that it was going to discharge towards Ampere Avenue or go into roof leader collection system that's going to be installed on the property, which discharges directly into the inlet.
So they're gonna dig a hole and have the pipe go directly into the drainage pipe?
Yes,
Okay, so it's not gonna flood my driveway.
correct.
Okay, so we don't, because I had 2 small children and my wife, so we don't have to worry about anything like that then.
No, your driveway would across the street would not be impacted by draining the pool.
Okay. Okay.
I would also point out, this is not an everyday occurrence that the pool's gonna be drained out, and nor is
Yeah.
it during the winter time
Sure, yeah.
when it would freeze, right? It's
I
just-
didn't even think about the pool
Yeah.
being drained, honestly, until you guys said it. Right? It made me a little bit nervous because, I mean, when you're sitting in my front yard, yeah, Ampere Avenue is bigger than Idlewood. But on Idlewood, where their properties are, it's very narrow. Everybody's front yard is like their backyard. There are no fences. There's the chain link fence that he's talking about, but he just bought that property. I know because my friend sold it to him. So that's just a very narrow strip. So I get it on Idlewood's side, but I don't want to take all of Idlewood's and now it's sticking on Ampere Avenue because we're now dealing with, we're going to have a massive influx of, I don't know, drainage or whatever from this massive building that's there. I know we're not here to talk about that, and I don't want to. I'm just concerned because we're kind of under siege right now, and I want to make sure that the neighborhood that I moved into 10 years ago is gonna kind of stay that way, because it's changed a lot. So when you're in my house, which used to be one of the larger houses on the street, we look like tiny little mouse house now, right? We're looking up. Everything is up now. So, and I'm done with questions. I guess I'll come back up for comments, right? Because I have those.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Hold on one second. Does anybody else have questions for this applicant? All right, we can take comments.
All right. So you mentioned as you were building the house that the walls fell down. No, they didn't. I watched the house be built. Right. The house started off. There was this little white house, and 2 homeowners had owned it since we lived there. The second woman, she owned both properties, where the big building is and now the small house was, and she rented out that small house for a couple of years, and then she sold the properties. You bought it. Immediately, they started tearing down the walls, and what it was left there for months, I mean, how many months, was this trash-filled gaping hole where the basement was. So you have 3 walls. You have the back wall, the 2 side walls, and then you see the cement, right, where the basement was. And it's this giant hole. There's no fence around it or anything for a minute. So all these things were happening, and then it stopped. And we're like, what's going on? So it's now quiet. I'm in construction, okay? The CEO of a company that does construction. I'm not going to sit here and come after somebody for building something. It's fine with me. However, again, we have 2 little girls. That was concerning because there was nothing there to block anything off. Then, so much time went by that now the weeds are 3 feet high. A giant sign has been out in front of that house since day 1. I learned it's your wife on there. She's the realtor. It's massive. It's been there since day 1. And I had to call her to say, as the realtor, hey, you gotta tell your client, whoever bought this property, like, they gotta mow the lawn. This is nuts. I mean, it's feet high. She was, okay. A couple days later, and the lawn got there. And that was great. Well, now all the trash is blowing off of the property. Okay, so we're dealing with that, and that's fine. Then guys come back and they knock the rest of it down. So they didn't fall down. It wasn't like it fell down. It wasn't like you didn't know. Like you tore it down. With that gaping hole there the whole time. So that's okay. Then we had a problem where the people who were working on his house were stealing electricity from me. They had run extension cables into I have an outlet outside of my garage. It's an exterior outlet. They had their stuff plugged into it. I know.
I'm just going to stop you.
Listen, yeah, we're
Because
going to
everything
keep
you're
going.
talking
No,
about
hold
has
on, though.
nothing to do with the
Yeah,
application.
but we're going to get to it.
So
right?
why don't you get to it?
Okay, so why don't we get to it? So it's been a nightmare. I guess here's my point, right? I know that there are rules and we got to follow the rules, but what I don't think everybody realizes is what we're changing the community into, right? There's all of these crazy palaces going on lots that are far too small for them. They're not big enough. They look crazy and they don't fit. To the point, right? They don't fit. I don't even know where you're going to put a pool. Where is the room for the pool? I have a patio in my backyard and a deck. I can't fit a pool. My thing's bigger than his. So where's it going to go? So, you know, I wouldn't even be here if I didn't get the letter from the attorney to come. I didn't even know, right? But it's been nonstop. And listen, I live here. We lived here for a decade. My wife went to Monmouth. I'm raising my kids here, paying $13,000 a year in property taxes, and all I do is skyscrapers everywhere. And then they don't live in them. They rent them to strangers. So now you're in a community that you thought you knew your neighbors. You don't. Who knows? They don't respect anything because they don't live here. Now he's bought the house next door. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with that. I guess we'll be back again, right? The one with the chain link fence, because there is no yard. Okay? So those are my concerns. Those are my comments. I know I'm not going to change anything, but again, when you live here, if you're not really paying attention, the whole community is changing. Okay, so we want to talk about sticking a 10-pound pool in a 5-pound yard? Okay, cool. We'll tie into the drainage system, no big deal. We'll tie into that. Screw the easement. Doesn't matter if the pipe was there, right? Hope it doesn't affect me though. I really do, because everything else has. So I hope that does. But, you know, there it is. I mean, at what point do we say, like where are we living? Like, what's it going to turn in? Is it going to turn in Belmar? It's going to be Belmar? Is everybody going to have this much property? I grew up in Belmar. We're going to have this much property between our houses at that point? I'm going to have to watch people bathe in their backyard like you do over there? I mean, nobody wants to see you in your pools. It's going to look ridiculous. The lady who lives behind him is right. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. That's it. I don't know. You know, it's like under assault, but we're all cool with it because we all know each other. And it's like, because, you know, it's a little bit of moving stuff around, you know, you're just cramming things in. I get, like, who's going to want to live here? And at some point, you're going to have nothing but renters. Right? Okay. Great. I don't know. I don't know. But it has been a downhill journey since we moved in here. And I feel like you guys are really not standing much in the way of preserving the actual community, preserving the neighborhood. Let's rip down all the trees and uglify it. That's pretty much what's going on. So, those are my questions, those are my comments. Is there anything that I missed? Oh, he already cut the driveway curb. He did that already. So, I'm not asking permission for that, he already did it. I watched it. So when you go over to Ampere Avenue, that's brand new. He already did that. So, you can't get, you know, permission for that. You can ask forgiveness. Can't get permission for it, you already did it. I've had to have the cops in my house 3 times because all those trucks, they park in front of my driveway. And I don't mean in front across the street, I mean in front of it. So, to your point, I know it's nothing to do with it, but it's a lack of respect, right?
I understand that,
So it's also a personal,
what you have
so
to,
it's how you
I get it,
react,
I get
right?
it.
So you,
But
don't you think that maybe you would do things a little shady?
So you have to understand, this board has very limited jurisdiction. We don't have jurisdiction over the neighbor being nice.
Oh, listen,
So-
I'm a grown ass man. I don't care about you.
I'm not suggesting you're not.
Trying to.
What
point
I'm
out
saying
character.
is, what
There's
I'm
a
saying
character,
is
right?
that this board can't take character into consideration.
No, I know, but what you can
But you
do
keep
is
talking
you
about
don't
character.
have to shove an entire pool. I mean, go drive down the street and way
So
home.
your comments about the pool are legitimate.
Yeah.
Your
Go
comments
around the street.
about his character are not for this board.
Listen,
So
I
stay.
understand.
If
My
you
point is
understand,
all
then
don't
stay
know
with the
him,
point.
right? But when it's like Lisa asked a really good question. Did you know about that? No, nobody knew about not cutting the curb.
Okay.
Did it? It's all right.
Sir, hold on 1 second. Does anybody have any questions? Do you have any questions for the witness?
Can I respond to everything that he says?
Stay away from the character stuff, because it's completely irrelevant to this hearing, and I don't want it to devolve into that. He makes a valid point, which the board can grant the variance or not grant the variance, about whether this property is appropriate to have a pool. Because obviously you need a variance in order to put the pool as you want to put it, so that is a legitimate issue.
I would point out, in terms of the size and whether the pool belongs here, the original plan was to have this pool have the pool on the property. It did not require a variance at all. The only reason why we're here, and it fit perfectly, the only reason why we're here is because everything needed to be shifted over because of this easement area. And you could see the property line along Idlewood runs on an angle. And so the shorter end, the pool got moved over to the shorter end and therefore required relief. So,
Right, and that's your heart.
Yeah.
You're not entitled to a pool.
So, not entitled to a pool, certainly not. But that's the hardship argument,
Yeah.
and just it's in response to whether or not the property is big enough or should have a pool. And you know, the point is that the pool fits. There's plenty of room for the pool,
Except there's an easement.
except there's this easement which created this situation. Otherwise, the pool would have been shifted over towards the property line, towards the right side, and it would have fit without any relief.
So I'm not saying that you can't grant that variance, but
Considered a smaller pool,
A smaller pool?
maybe much smaller pool. This is a 20
20 by 40
pool, which is a
20.
very large.
It's a very large
It's
pool,
not
yeah,
small.
that's not a,
Yeah.
That's a very large pool. That's much larger than the average pool in the town.
Yeah, like a 15 by 30 or something like that.
If I'm doing, I can do 16 by 32, but the only, if I'm doing 16 by 32, then I don't have a space to do a spa in the pool.
Why do you need
A
a spa?
spa?
Why do you need a spa in the pool? You know, you have to deal with the reality that there's limited space here. So you can't just have your dream pool with a spa and a bar with you know, whatever. I know you're not necessarily proposing that, but you know, you have to deal with the limitations of what you have.
Yeah, I can consider to make it
say 15 by 30, pretty standard size pool.
16 by 32. It's usually
Is this
standard.
pool a fiberglass pool or is it a
Concrete.
concrete pool? So you can make it whatever you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So it doesn't matter what size it is.
Yeah.
So they could make a conforming pool, couldn't they?
Well, the pool requires, because it's a front yard on Idlewood, it requires
Okay.
a 30-foot setback.
Right.
The way.
And they can't meet that.
Yeah, I was trying to. Where's the 30? Where could you possibly have
So
30
if,
feet?
if you look, if you have the plan in front of you, you can see they have a line that says 30-foot rear yard. It's actually a front yard, and it points from the property line to a dashed line, which is the setback line, and that cuts right through the middle of the pool.
Yeah.
So in order to be conforming, the pool would have to be entirely behind that dashed line.
And as the zoning officer just pointed out to me, they could do that if they wanted to.
That- it
Yeah,
would
it
have-
would
yes,
be
it
a
would
much
have to be
smaller pool, but you
pre-conforming.
could build a completely conforming pool.
That was the question I had, because you made the statement that you only need the variances because of this line. Was the pool in the original design before this easement was discovered?
Yes.
Then it wasn't.
This is the setback line. What size
The
is the
shift
pool?
over.
Shift it over and
It wasn't in this. It was still in the setback.
Yeah, if I'm gonna make.
You still needed a variance.
No, I need
Apparently they didn't because the zoning,
If I
you know?
The original plan.
Just put it over the pipe and.
Kate, can you talk in the microphone? Everybody, can we quiet down for a second, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the original plot plan for it.
Let me
was-
swear you in. The D swearing testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, go ahead.
So the original plan was for additions, renovations to the existing home. The existing home was pre-existing non-conforming, it was in the front yard setback. So what he was proposing to do was to take off, it was like this enclosed porch, and then have a 2-story addition, and then a second floor up top. Everything was conforming, but it had a 10-foot side yard setback, because nobody knew about this 20-foot wide easement. So with that addition renovation, the pool was also over here. So when the property line slopes, it just tucked into that front yard setback. So when everything had to be shifted over, then it was shifted and had to be closer to the 30-foot on the sort of incline, or decline rather.
That was my question.
So if I'm gonna make the pool smaller, I don't need a variance for that.
Well, you still need
You still need variance. The pool will be too small.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
be at 30 feet.
Well, apparently you
That's
could
good.
build a completely conforming pool without any variances, is what we're saying. It might-
And what size would the
Well,
pool be?
and it would be up against the house.
Viable.
I don't know what size the pool would be. It may have to be reconfigured on the lot as well, not just.
I shift the house 8 feet to the left. So if I make the pool 32 feet instead of 40 feet, then I should be in the 30 feet setback from their front yard. So I basically I don't need a variance.
I'm just gonna.
You still
That wouldn't work. We're looking at
My
the plan, it wouldn't
suggestion
work,
is
wouldn't work.
to the applicant's attorney, there is a case, an appellate division case, directly on point. And I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it, that deals with a swimming pool.
Right, which you referenced in your letter.
The Lang case, and Lang, and I don't know what the town is. And I would suggest you carry this, look at that case, and maybe even bring a planner back if you wanna push the pool issue.
Mark, is the
Two front yards.
Yeah.
An inherent hardship.
That's a hardship,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
So
But a hardship doesn't mean, that just means that they have problems developing that there are inherent problems developing the property. It doesn't mean that they get to develop the property and do whatever they want because they have a hardship.
Yeah, they have to show
And
negative.
the Lang case is gonna basically say that the board granted the variance
Yeah.
and the board had a right to grant the variance. It's not gonna say the board had to
Yeah,
grant the
yeah,
variance.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that's the other important distinction. So
Yeah.
if we're gonna start talking, but I do agree with Jim that if you're gonna start talking about reducing the size of the pool, which I think is a fair comment, that you should carry this application and let the applicant come back, show you exactly where this pool is gonna be and what size it's gonna be, so that everybody's on the same page. I don't think you should do that post approval.
Yeah, or maybe he's right and he doesn't. He can figure out a way that he doesn't need
how
a
to
variance.
completely do it as of right, then you could adopt the resolution tonight and say the pool's you got to remove all the not the resolution tonight, but approve the application subject to a completely conforming pool. You can do that, but I don't know the applicant's really going to want you to do that.
Yeah, no,
I was going to say that, do you think you could fit a conforming pool on here also, the way we're looking at it?
Yes, the zoning officer is saying yes.
It would just have to be much smaller.
It's a much smaller pool.
Yeah.
But again, he doesn't have a right to a pool. So people like having them, but they don't have a right. So I don't know if you want to carry this. I mean, obviously we'll finish hearing the public by.
yeah. You know, did I ask Jim and Bennett to give their comments on this?
Now, the only other comment I have is that there are a lot of trees at the rear portion of that lot on the Idlewood Ave side. So if you do approve the application, regardless of what you approve, it should be subject to the current tree ordinance. And the way the zoning ordinance is written, only subdivisions and site plans are subject to the tree requirements in the zoning ordinance, but there is a separate tree removal ordinance the township has that would apply.
And we have no issue with that.
We discussed everything in my letter, so I don't think that's.
Well, they would have to come back in front of this board even if the pool was fully compliant because of the existing non-conforming.
That's correct.
Right? Okay.
But theoretically, if they were to tell you they were going to put a completely conforming pool, then you could have voted on it tonight. But I don't think they're going to ask you that. You could vote the rest of the application and just say conditioned upon a fully conforming pool. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Aside from the pool setback, that's really all that's in front of us is the existing non-conforming lot area depth.
Right.
Mr. Fuller,
Okay.
I think somebody has an additional comment.
I see. I saw her.
Hi.
I'm going to swear you in.
Oh, sure.
Do you swear any testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the true self you got? And just state your name for the record.
Maria Basha?
And I assume you have the same address as the gentleman before you.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Before we go further, if I could ask for a 5-minute recess?
Do you want to hear? Yeah, you can. Yes,
That's
you
okay.
want to do that? That's fine.
We have an engineer here, which I wanted to have a discussion with him, and maybe there's something we can come up with before we proceed.
You don't want to hear her first?
I just, yeah, because I'm going to speak regardless, and I'm going to be quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm obviously the mother that lives across the street. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I'm not going to get into all the other stuff. Like, yes, it's an eyesore, but that's not what I'm here to really talk about. My main concern is safety, because last summer it was such a safety concern for me. The way that there was just this absolutely.
So we don't have control over that.
But
you're in the wrong place for that.
What you need to do, you call the township manager.
Right.
And he will put you in touch with the right department that will come out and do inspections immediately, particularly if it's a safety issue. They'll get somebody out there as quick as they can.
Is your
Absolutely done that, and honestly, I feel like there was some type of like retribution or something about that.
All right. So again, that has nothing. Those issues have nothing to do with this board.
I just wanted to, because I don't understand. I don't know what does and what doesn't. But like how he was saying how they were trying to make a deal with Mrs. Connor. Is it Mrs. Connor or something with the fence in terms of fencing? And what would be my biggest concern is if this does go through, that there would be a fence before anything was ever built. I don't know if that's something that I talked to you guys about or another department.
It's a very good comment, because I believe that safety is very
should be a fence around any construction
Yeah.
project, especially if you have people in the neighborhood.
Yes.
So absolutely, that should definitely be considered.
So I can also kind of add to that. When, and I don't know everything about building code and safety, but I know when a contractor is building a pool, as soon as he digs the hole for the pool, he has to have a fence around it, whether it's a permanent fence or a temporary construction fence. So that is, you're absolutely right. If there was no fence around it, then you should call the town. You can call the police or the township manager. They'll get you in touch with the right people. And that's how that should be handled.
And then my other concern, and again, I don't know, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
If I'm not talking to the right people, just let me
No,
know.
go ahead.
But another thing that Mrs. Connolly was concerned about was the parking situation, right? So no one's going to be able to park behind their house on Idlewood? Is
Correct.
that- So that means that there's going to be even more parking on our street. And it's already totally flooded with parking. And again, that's a safety concern for me, because there's people like flying up and down the little street all the
Well,
time.
that's why we brought up the giant school, because that is going to increase cars.
Alright, yeah, but we can't, so first of all, only one person can talk at a time, because this is actually, just so you guys know, this is being transcribed. So wait, like, no one's even hearing you when you talk, it's not going on the tape, so. I mean, people should be parking behind the house anyway, it's not appropriate, but.
I think the issue there was that the issue was that the narrowness of Idlewood. And that's why, so if cars are parking on Idlewood, it really causes a problem.
Right, and she wanted to make sure that people weren't coming to the house and parking behind the house, and yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but they shouldn't be parking there anyway. Right, and that's why, yeah.
Want a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Or the building.
All right, we're ready to get started again?
Are you back on the record?
Back on the record?
We'll note for the record that everyone who was here before is still here, nobody's missing, so we don't need to do the roll. Go ahead.
I'd like to call up Scott Lynn, who's a design engineer.
Mr. Lynn, do you swear any testimony you're about to give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And just state your name for the record.
Scott Lynn, L-Y-N-N.
And you are a licensed engineer, state of New Jersey?
State of New Jersey, BS Engineering.
Okay, that's fine.
35 years experience, blah, blah, blah.
We don't need that.
Yeah, I've had appeared before this board.
Thank you.
So, just taking the 5 minutes out in the home. Just taking the 5 minutes out in the hallway to discuss, I was listening to this conversation all evening and heard you guys very loud and clear. We can, based on Katie's recommendation, fit a pool within the 30-foot setback, front yard setback. So as Ben was explaining earlier, if you see this dashed line here, this is the 30-foot front yard / rear yard, depending on how you look at this house. We can fit an 18 by 24, 25-foot pool right within this area, thus eliminating the variance for the pool. Still have all the other variances, not the pool variance. Did have a conversation with Iden. He has agreed to reduce the size of the pool, eliminate this pool, and again, put an 18 by 24, 25. I have to calculate it, but just my rough calculation, we can certainly do that.
So the pool's gonna be completely conforming, does not need any variance, so they don't need to be there for this?
Correct.
Okay. And the pool equipment?
And the pool equipment. So we can, yes, because of where the location of the pool is going to be, we can physically put the equipment right in this area, which would also meet the 30-foot setback.
Alright, so the pool, a condition if the board approves the applications that the pool and the equipment are gonna completely conform.
Correct.
And the plans would have to be revised to show that.
Correct.
Okay.
And the draining condition would still,
Yeah, draining would still apply, correct?
Yeah, the drainage would not change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you still need the fence and everything like that, right, in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, that change is nothing with it having to do with the fence and the buffering and so on and so forth. It's merely eliminating this pool and proposing a new pool that is in conformance with the bulk requirements of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, the existing non-conforming area. Oh, gotcha.
Does anybody from the public have any questions, or does anybody here have any questions for Mr. Lynn?
Gotcha.
Any questions here?
Well, I think he's conforming.
Anyone from the public have any questions for Mr. Lynn?
I think we're getting any side door setbacks or anything, so I was looking for.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That being the case, then we're left only with the requested relief for the house, and we would therefore submit to the board.
When you say requested relief for the house, you mean the existing non-conforming lot area, lot width? That's it?
And minimum depth.
And minimum depth.
And you're giving them the 1 foot variance for the fence and the shrubbery.
Yeah. If you want to give them.
Oh, right.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, there you go, the fence and shrubs. All right. Yep.
So essentially, any house that was going to be built here would have to get these variances. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no way to enlarge the lot.
Okay.
No reasonable way.
Are there any no variances on height?
No.
Okay. Do any other members of the public have any comments they'd like to make? No? I think we can close the public hearing, right? Am I missing anything?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I think they can. If they're removing I don't have a problem with them voting on it tonight if the pool's gonna conform.
Anybody have any further questions for our experts? No? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for positive resolution. Yes.
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 Yes. All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But it's subject to all the deed restrictions and everything we discussed,
They agree.
correct?
Wall, everything, yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
All right, the last case this evening is Perry Nason, block 140.17, lot 11, 713 Asbury Avenue in Ocean. Mr. Nason.
I will mark in the following exhibits. Exhibit A1 is the application itself. Exhibit A2 is the final as-built survey. Then we have the board exhibit. The board exhibits are B1 will be the board planner's report. B2 is the board engineer's report. B4 is going to be B3 is going to be the zoning officer's denial letter. B4 is going to be the zoning officer's report. And B5 will be the resolution of this board dated March 21st, 2024. I'll swear you in. The swearing testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
And just state your name for the record.
Perry Nazon.
And you are the applicant in this matter, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And you own the property?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Nason, welcome.
Yes, how
Want
are
to sit down?
Oh, cool.
You can stand if you'd like. But so please tell us why you're here.
For my air conditioners, my two condensers are mounted on the right side of the facing of the building, and they're supposed to be on the left side of the building, according to the plan, but couldn't be because the line set is too long, and we have a slab where the garage is, so the line set couldn't go that way. So these air conditioners are on the right-hand side of the fence covered by the fence. You can't see it or anything, and it's not a noisy thing or anything. And then also, my walkway from the house to the sidewalk is 8 inches too wide. Where the last house on the block doesn't even matter. God's sake, you guys.
So by switching the air conditioning units from one side to the other,
Yes, sir.
you ended up too close to the property line?
It's technically in the front yard. Front yard has to be 30 feet. It's 26.1 feet from Asbury Avenue. It's screened by the fence. Nobody's gonna hear the noise.
Or even see it.
Or even see
Never
it,
mind.
yeah, if you don't see it, you won't hear it. It's the best location on the site for them, I think, so I don't have a problem with that. And the width of the sidewalk, I think, Kate, correct me, 3 foot wide is permitted?
4 foot.
4 foot, and it's 4 feet 9 inches. And Overbrook's a pretty heavily traveled, even though it's not a collector street or anything, it's pretty heavily traveled. So having a little bit wider sidewalk, I don't think is a problem.
That's the last house there, last house on the block.
Anybody have any questions? No? Do you have anything else you want to talk about, Jim?
Nope,
I don't have any engineering issues.
Okay. Any members of the public have any questions? Any members of the public have any comments?
Me, I guess it's just me.
It's just you.
Maybe he has a comment?
Do you have any more
Yeah, I'm
comments?
afraid now. I'm afraid to put a swimming pool in. I'm afraid, man. I'm really afraid. Believe it or not. I said, damn, if I put a swimming pool, man, holy Christ, I'll be stoned at the wall.
Spread the word. Anybody like to close the public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Motion for positive resolution.
Second.
Mr. Nosy?
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you for your patience, sir.
What happens now?
It was approved.
I'm
You're
okay,
done.
right?
You're good. Yeah.
He's cool.
There'll be a re-
Claire, thanks for helping us out.
We'll have a
You
resolution.
helped us a lot, man.
We'll have a resolution.
listening.
I
started
you guys for your time.
I did a short reading on the agenda again.
I remember the last time.
It went similar.
Just so the board knows too, Kate failed us tonight. She promised to get us out of here by 8:30. It's 8:41.
We're gonna need a variance for that one too.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think you're off.
Take off the recess.
All right, have a good night, you guys.
You too, good night.
Alright, so we still need a motion to adjourn this whole session.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good night, everyone.
Someone said yes.